Stanley, man. Today, we're going to be reacting. It's going to be me. It's going to be Chad. We're reacting to a video from the one and only, the homie, Shonen Ouji. What happened to the promised Neverland? Can I tell y'all something, bro? Can I tell you, like, can y'all level with me? Can y'all be for real for 1 second, bro? The promised Neverland. That first season is the perfect show to be laid up with a shorty with. I know that sounds crazy. But if you ever wanted to get a shorty that you messing with into anime, you gave them the promised Neverland. You know the problem though is after the first season. Oh, Stanley, I want to see the second season. I can't. I literally can't. You know why? They killed the show. I would be doing a disservice. Shorty might break up with me if I show her the second season, bro. That's how crazy The Promised Neverland did us, bro. What happened, bro?
To The Promised Neverland. This series had the best manga in Jump and the best first season I've ever seen, but quickly became hated by even its biggest fans. And after the bizarre ending that was season 2, you might be inclined to think that, well, at least the
second season of Promised Neverland don't even exist. Yes, it literally doesn't, bro.
Manga is still good, but that's really the nostalgia taking over, because if you go back to when the manga was ending, it was almost as divisive as the anime, so much so that you can still find videos on YouTube like It Lost Its Way.
Bro, and I was trying to cope, chat. I'm in Discord calls arguing with my homie. Yo, we don't need it to be the same as the manga, bro. It's gone, bro. I was lying, nigga. I look back at that, bro, and I'm disgusted that those words left my mouth, bro. That shit was weak, bro. It was weak, bro.
Or incomplete masterpiece, which after 4 years of silence just leaves one big question. Was The Promised Neverland ever any good to begin with? As someone who...
What the fuck? That is not a... What is he talking... What is it? What are you talking about? What is he talking about? Was The Promised Neverland ever good to begin with? What is he talking about? See, you're rewriting history. You're rewriting history, and I don't like that, bro.
Who watched the anime before COVID and just binged the manga for the first time, I'd like to share my thoughts on The Promised Neverland as a whole.
Don't heat me up.
Honestly address the major problems, but also explain
Bella, appreciate the tier 1 sub. Thank you so much.
This series are must-see stories for casual and hardcore fans. Just be warned that there will probably be a few major spoilers in this video. So first, let's talk.
This is your chance to leave if you don't want to get spoiled. You never watched Promised Neverland. Bella, thank you so much for the sub. Leave right now if you don't want to get spoiled. I love you, and I'm gonna give you a proper shout out after this video.
About the anime, because if you're not that familiar with The Promised Neverland, then you should know that this is where it reached the height of its popularity.
All right, Issa.
And it's that popularity that made its fall from grace that much more devastating. So The Promised Neverland manga started in 2016. The first season of the anime started in winter 2019. And before we even talk about this anime, let's talk about what else was running at the time. It was the winter of 2019, so Dr. Stone and Fire Force were just about wrapping up and both going strong. And that winter season featured both
Dr. Stone and Fire Force are also great shows. It was lit. I was happy.
Psycho season 2
and
the first season of Kaguya-sama, both insanely popular. So the fact that Promised Neverland stood out as one of the top anime of that season is nothing to laugh at. In fact, it only goes to show just how good the season is.
No, let me explain. Let me explain something to y'all. Let me explain something to y'all, bro. Promised Neverland drops. I'm getting told about Promised Neverland. Bro, I'm knowing and understanding that it's scary. If you're new here, hi, my name's Stanley. I'm scared of anything scary, bro. I didn't watch Scooby-Doo growing up because it was too scary, Yang. I'm not even exaggerating. I'm literally not joking. I'm being so serious. Promised Neverland dropped. They're like, yo, it's scary. I'm like, oh, that's not my body. Y'all can have that. They're like, no, Stanley, you have to watch it. That first episode about to end, but I'll give you that Attack on Titan feeling. I'm like, you're lying. They're like, bro, it's different. I watched the first episode. I watched every single episode after that. That's what it was, bro. And then they dropped the ball.
First of all, you have the opening. And the reason I bring that up is because it's easy to forget just how good it is until you go back and play it. But just like the show, it was one of the best openings.
Bro, that na 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 na, bro! Na 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 na. That joke was crazy.
Of the year. Plus, you had Emma, a female lead character in a category of anime that is predominantly led by male characters. But probably the biggest reason Promised Neverland stands out so much is because of the premise. In case you aren't aware, the Promised Neverland follows the story of Emma, Ray, and Norman, three orphans who find out that their home is actually a farm run by demons who raise kids just to eat their brains.
I want you to know this show is literally just about Wagyu steak. Look up Wagyu steak. That's the Promised Neverland. I'm not even joking.
When they turn 12. On top of that, their foster mom, who has raised them with a smile their whole lives, is working for the demons and actually works to make the kids smarter so that they're better food for the demons. It's a tragic twist because the story opens up on such a wholesome note, and then out of nowhere you find out that these kids are being treated like cattle, which gets you invested in an amazing 12 episodes where Emma and her siblings have to outsmart their mother and escape this carefully crafted conspiracy. A struggle that consists of plotting, spying, betrayal, gore, and a constant mental battle of 4D chess. And what makes this season so good is that it's a great story on its own. It has all of the great elements I just listed, and by episode 12, there's a resolution to this struggle that answers most of the questions you would have. So back when I watched this show for the first time, I couldn't help thinking this was one of the best first seasons I had ever seen.
Yes, bro. It's one of the best first season, and it's one of the best, if not the best 12 eps. Like, what is it, 12, 13, maybe 14? Bro, it was different, bro.
The experience during season 2 all the more disappointing. But before I get into that, make sure to join the channel if you're enjoying weekly live. Season 1 was 2019 into 2020. Season 2 started just 1 year later in January of 2021. And going from season 1 to season 2 felt like a fever dream, especially if you were a manga fan. See, as much as people hate on season 2, the issues didn't really start until later in the season.
I agree. Halfway, like literally, like I'll say episode 5, 6, 7-ish, around there, it started getting bad in season 2. It wasn't necessarily bad the first couple of episodes of season 2. By the end of season 2, it was horrible. But the first couple of episodes, it was smooth. I'm telling you, bro. But it's not about how you start. It's about how you finish, bro. It's important.
Episode 1, nobody really noticed any major issues in the promos or the trailers, if I remember correctly. And of course, everyone was excited because season 1 was amazing, so season 2 was going to be that much
We watching
better.
What Happened to Promised
Neverland.
Neverland.
Fans were excited because the manga was hitting some controversial times.
You stuck it out to the end better than me, bro. You have to understand, I loved it. I love this show, bro. It failed me, bro. No cap, bro.
We'll get into that in a minute. Point being that the manga fans were somewhat divided about the ongoing story, so they were looking forward to the arc that everyone loved, Goldie Pond. An arc where the now released kids were fighting against demons with AKs and ARs and just about every gun a 12-year-old should never have. So anime fans were excited as well as manga fans. That hype brings us into episode 1. Now, episode 1 wouldn't trigger any alarms if you're anime only, but if you're a manga fan, it stood out because it cut down the transition into the next arc, where the kids spent time exploring the demon world before meeting these two demons named Mujika and Sanji. Afterward, they track down a remote base left behind for children who escaped the farms. And this is where manga fans pretty much completely abandoned the anime, because at this point you're supposed to meet a nameless man that leads Emma and Ray to Goldie Pond. But in the anime, the nameless man doesn't exist and the kids never go to Goldie Pond. So for whatever reason, the anime skips one of the story's best arcs, which again wouldn't stand out for anime only fans. But even
I'm telling you, bro, it's probably on some like, bro, we're not trying to spend the budget and draw that, bro. Like they probably thought they could just get away with it, and they ruined the franchise, man.
the anime reaches a drastic drop in overall
Doing good,
quality
man.
from
Five,
this
happy to have
point
you.
on. Existing issues in animation compared to season 1 continue. Having skipped an entire arc, the writers then struggle to tie everything together in a way that clearly feels rushed.
Right.
So much so that even as an anime only, I constantly felt like they were just rushing the story. They
Yeah.
pretty much cut out 75% of the remaining story, almost all of the new characters that account for like half of the total cast, and they end the anime in this incredibly disappointing way where
It was so disappointing, bro. One thing you could do, one of the worst things you could ever do, bro, is give me a slideshow at the end of my show, bro, if I'm not happy with it. And I mean that, like, if the story ended beautifully, it wrapped up, we got the bow on everything, it's okay. Okay, cool. I'll feel fulfilled. If it didn't wrap up beautifully, bro, you better give me an animated ending, gang. They gave me PowerPoint presentations for an ending, man.
basically hits the same plot points as the manga, but is mostly made up to account for all of the missing content. In fact, the episodes were so bad that for the last
It was
1 or 2
bad.
episodes, there's actually no credit given to the writer. Now,
Yup.
obviously, someone wrote the episodes. In fact, series creator Kaiju Shirai supervised the anime, but he didn't even take credit for the last episodes. Basically, the ending of the anime is so bad that even the people who wrote it don't stand behind it. And the weird part is
Now you better stand on that shit. You better stand on that. You did that. That was your body. You did that. Stand on it, bro. I want their SSN by tomorrow. No cap, bro.
that to this day, there still isn't a clear answer to why this happened. 4 years later, if you ask why they cut the anime and gave it such a bad ending, there's a bunch of different factors. First of all, it is worth noting that this took place right before the pandemic. So Cloverworks, the studio that made both seasons, had to change staff amid the crisis. It's also worth noting that Cloverworks was releasing another famously bad anime at the same time, Wonder Egg Priority. In fact,
This shit also pissed me off. Yo, that's the same people? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This show also pissed me off. Holy. Y'all gotta understand something, bro. I'm not a critical person, bro. It's so easy for me to enjoy things. So when I find a show that I don't like, I'm shocked. Because I'm like, bro, I'll literally consume anything, bro. Oh, yeah, this show also gave me the, yeah.
Cloverworks did to Wonder Egg Priority in 1 season what they did to Promise Neverland in 2 seasons. The show has an incredibly strong start with gorgeous animation and amazing characters with a fun premise
I'm glad
that
for
allowed
you.
these young characters to confront heavy issues in a mature way. But by the end of the season, the show felt rushed, there were clear animation issues, and everyone agreed
I
that
have seen The Good Place. Such a good show.
the ending sucked. Some of the staff were even sent to the hospital at the time, probably due at least in part to the pandemic, but largely because the staff were being rushed to finish the season. Point being that at the time, Cloverworks clearly had really poor management, so in retrospect, it's not that surprising to see what happened to the Promised Neverland considering the studio that was in charge. One last thing worth mentioning is that the Promised Neverland is a pretty short series. It's just short of 200 chapters, whereas most other Shonen Jump series that don't get cut usually end around 300 chapters.
Right.
As a result, by the time the manga was ending, there really wasn't that much left to adapt in the anime after what should have been season 2. So there's a decent chance that they wrapped up the anime because there really weren't any more new volumes to sell. Now, that's more or less the state of the anime. If you want to watch season 1, then I highly recommend it because if I'm being honest, it's one of the best first seasons of a show ever. Now,
I don't even think that's crazy to say, bro. It's just crazy to hear how much they let the ball drop, bro.
naturally, you would probably respond by suggesting that people should jump to the manga after watching season 1 because the manga is so much better. And that's where I have to jump in and be a buzzkill. Because if we're being honest, the ending to the manga isn't as great as our nostalgia filters would have us believe.
Okay.
I wasn't reading the manga at the time, but I had a bunch of people telling me that fans were completely torn over the ending. That being said, I won't try to represent what people were saying at the time, but if you read reviews from 5 years ago, you can see a lot of the same common criticisms. First
They look older in the manga. I don't think they look older in the anime. The anime, they dead look the same.
of all, as much as people love Emma in the beginning of the story, she is probably its most divisive character by the end. Without getting into any real spoilers, essentially there's two big problems with Emma.
Okay.
One of the problems is her optimism. This is exactly how Emma is introduced. While Ray and Norman are the more rational characters in a horrifying world,
that does
Emma
happen.
serves as the optimistic protagonist that fights for the best possible outcome. So this core trait
My Hero is completely valid. I love My Hero. My Hero's great.
of hers shouldn't be a problem because this is what we were promised. But the issue people have in the ending is that this optimism feels out of touch given the context of the ending. Basically, it's one of those situations where the bad guys are clearly bad people, but Emma is like, yeah, but I'm gonna save everyone. And it wouldn't be so divisive if it weren't for the fact that Emma kinda gets her way. So it's really a combination of Emma is very optimistic in a
Right.
story that feels like it should be somewhat more grounded,
Right.
and she kind of gets her way without any real
good,
struggle
Drake.
in convincing other characters to completely change their beliefs. And this lack of struggle is a big part of the other problem people have with the ending. Basically that Emma makes this big sacrifice in the end that allows her to save all of the humans and all of the demons. But by the end of the last chapter, they essentially undo all of the consequences of this heroic sacrifice. And it turns into another instance of Emma getting whatever she wants without any real struggle. Now, those are the problems with Emma. There's
Okay.
also other issues like people feeling as though the story was rushed and should have been more
What's good,
fleshed
Chris?
out. Some people also feel like there's really no satisfying villains in the story after Goldie Pond, which normally wouldn't be so bad, but when you consider how great of a villain Isabella is in the introduction, it seems like kind of a letdown. Plus, when there's
What's
not
good, Chris?
really any great
Sex?
villains and there's issues with Emma, you can see how someone would absolutely hate this ending. So those are the main issues with the ending. Clearly, it's not as perfectly
Right.
written as our
Right.
nostalgia brains would have us remember. So what do you do if you're a new fan? Do I watch season 1 and then read the
If you're a new fan, you watch season 1 and you pretend like season 2 never existed. That's it, bro. Enjoy your life on season 1. That's it. Just stop there. Don't look for the feeling. Don't ask questions. Just enjoy what they gave to you, man.
manga and hope that I like it? Do I ignore the anime
Take care.
completely? Is it even worth it? And here's my answer as someone who was anime only and actually likes the manga ending. If you are completely new, just watch season 1. Then if
See?
you enjoy it, which you probably will, consider giving the manga a chance. If you've already watched seasons 1 and 2 and you're hoping the manga is like a completely different story, then don't get your hopes up. Don't get me wrong, season 2 is terrible and ruins the legacy of the manga. But the manga comes with its own flaws, so don't go into it hoping it's gonna be this
Right.
perfect series.
Right.
That being said, I think The Promised Neverland is a story that everyone should read, even if you're not a manga fan. The ending has its issues, but I was never reading it for crazy villains or a bunch of fleshed out side characters like in One Piece. I just wanted a satisfying conclusion to Emma's story, and for the most part, that is what you get.
Which is
Emma
not
wants
crazy
save
to
her
ask
family
for.
and change the world for the better, and that is exactly what she does. The Promised Neverland may not be the heaviest story, but it also sets up these parallels to real-world issues that everyone can relate to without having to be political.
Right.
It shows you how horrifyingly easy it is to separate groups of people and invent ways to make them less than human, and shows you an outcome where people decide they don't want to do that anymore. The execution of this outcome is far from perfect, but it is a satisfying ending. Plus, like I said, the anime has one of the best first seasons ever. Season 1
And if you wanted to use that first season to bag you some fine shit, that is my hey. If you ever ask me, Stan, what show should I use to bag Shorty? That will be my top pick every single time. Every single time. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe down below. Comment twice, it helps me in the algorithm. Check out me and yours collab channel. It's called SXY. You can find it. It's in all caps, SXY. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Goodbye.